Hello, good people of YouTube. Sealord here, and today the update article for patch 12.8 has been released, and it contains some updates that were originally only announced for the Russian version of the game, yet they're now showing up in this update. Which then, of course, calls into question, hold up a second, all those crazy buffs and that hybrid Japanese submarine that we talked about a few days ago, are those actually coming to this game too? It's it's interesting. We'll talk about that when we get to that section. Or you could, of course, just look at the timeline down below. I do have the chapter set up. So if you do want to go straight to that section, feel free to do so. But we are going to go through the rest of the update notes, talk about what you need to know to get the most out of this update. And if you do find this video informational, entertaining, or just enjoy it outright, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment. It helps out on the YouTube side of things. So let's go ahead and get on into it. Title of the update is 12.8 Warships celebrates its 8th anniversary. Well, the title of the update article. Obviously, we're talking about the anniversary for the game. The Dockyard's continuing. Airship Escort's coming to random battles. And the Spanish cruisers are coming out in full release. Those are some of the biggest highlights of this update. Let's go ahead and get into it with the 8th anniversary. So they say, get ready to set sail into a sea of celebrations because Update 12.8 is hosting a grand Warships birthday party. In fact, the designer's table port is getting freshly decorated for the occasion, and they are going 80s for 8, which is cool. 80s were cool, even though I wasn't around for them, but greatly enjoy the movies and the TV shows from the 80s. I wasn't born in the 80s, but my parents had myself and my sister when we were quite older, so we were raised on the 80s. I grew up watching MacGyver, the A-Team, Knight Rider, and all that. Speaking of the 80s, I still want to buy a DeLorean and put a Hellcat engine in it. There's a Patreon if you want to help in that front. But anyway, they say players can expect a variety of exciting rewards to celebrate the 8th anniversary of Warships, including battle performance bonuses for achieving certain combat results on all their ships, starting from Tier 5. The reward mechanisms will be similar to those from the previous New Year celebration update 11.11, which means that players will again be able to receive several rewards at once, all within the same battle. And this starts on the 13th and goes through October 11th. So September 13th to October 11th, just under a month to collect all these rewards. So what they mean thereby, the system that was used in the New Year's celebration. Basically, if you have a large fleet of ships, like, again, this game's 8 years old, so many of us have, several hundred ships in port. It's just not conceivable that you'd be able to collect every single reward in every single ship because, life is a thing. So if you have so many ships, you can earn additional rewards based upon your battle performance, and how many you can earn at one time does, of course, depend upon the amount of ships that you do have. So TLDR, the more ships you have, the more battle performance bonuses you can get by performing better in a battle with a single ship than with all the ships at one at a time. And you do get to choose what ships you can get the bonuses from. So if you have a bunch of torpedo DDs or CVs that you're not a real big fan of, you can just collect those without having to play them. So that's pretty cool. So they do say, however, the reward distribution method for the will be changing for the 8th anniversary, and players will now earn festive tokens that can be exchanged for rewards of their choice. This will allow us to step away from the tier-related rewards, as players will now be able to collect the same tokens on any ship and spend them in the armory. Depending on your ship's tier, you will receive the following number of festive tokens. Tier 5 to 7 ships, you get 30 festive tokens a battle. 8 to 9 ships, 75 festive tokens a battle. And Tier 10 ships and super ships, 200 festive tokens per battle. So this means that in years past, you would get a certain reward based upon the tier of your ship. So if you had a bunch of Tier 10s, you could get super containers because that's what they were giving out for Tier 10 ships. So obviously the player that has a ton of Tier 10 ships, they're swimming in super containers. But Joe Blow in the back over there, that maybe he only has 1 or 2 Tier 10s, but he has a bunch of Tier 7s and Tier 8s because, those are the tiers he can grind up to and perform the best at. He got shafted in previous events because he couldn't get those super containers. But now, if you have a large amount of Tier 8 or Tier 9 or Tier 7 ships, you can get super containers as well. So I think it's a pretty nice system. I do like the system that they've... again, it's very similar to systems they've used for the New Year event, the Santa Container event and such. It lets you, choose what you want to get out of the event. So I do like that. And what can you get out of the event? I am glad you asked. So you can get the Bayard, a Tier 8 Premium Cruiser, for 6,250 festive tokens. You get a 50% coupon for Tier 8 ships for doubloons for 3,125 festive tokens. Permanent interdimensional shift camouflage for Zeton, which is 1,250 festive tokens. Up to 7 on a retro wave containers for 500 festive tokens each. Up to 110 super containers for 200 festive tokens each. These are the nerf super containers, so 110 does sound like a lot, but it's really like roughly, 60, 70, 80 of the older super containers. Basically, if you do the math, something like that. You get the Parallel Worlds patch for 100 festive tokens as well, and you can exchange them for common, special, and rare economic bonuses. So, there's that. So, on the Retro Wave container, if you're wondering what you can get out of that, I'm just going to take a screenshot of that, and then you can view it up on the screen. You want to read through all that, feel free to pause the video and take a look at that. So you might be asking, well, what if I already have the Bayard? Well, if you already have the Bayard, you then get a 100% off coupon for any of the Tier 8 ships listed above in that screenshot there. And if you already have all those ships and you get the Bayard, you get 3,000 steel. So that's pretty good, in my opinion. There's some very solid ships in that list. Dare I say some downright good ships like the Kid and the Saigon, and not in my opinion, but in many other players' opinion, the Gascon. And, of course, Carl the 14th Johann is being released in this update as well. She's going to be for doubloons, from what I've heard. I believe she's going to cost, it's a Tier 9, so it's going to cost, about the Tier 9's cost in doubloons. So that is the 8th update for this event. Of course, we've gone through quite a bit of controversy with the nerf containers, how you could only earn, I believe it was 80 beforehand, but then they upped it to 110, but it's still nerfed because it's the new nerf containers and such. But it's still a ton of free stuff for just playing the game. And yes, it is worse than the events in the past, but again, you still get some pretty nice stuff for free. So get what you can get for free, get what you can get out of the event, and move on. Other big news in this update is that Airship Escort is coming to random battles. This is something that I am very happy about, and I thought most of the community would be pretty happy about, because it's a game mode that encourages close-range gameplay. And my thought process is, okay, if this bad boy is in random battles now, then that means more players will be taking more medium and close range ships into random battles. So that means the meta of sitting in the back and sniping is finally getting something to kind of, kick it out the door a little bit and have more of the close to mid-range gameplay come back, because obviously, again, you have to be taking mid or close range ships in anticipation for Airship Escort. Now, long-range ships can do fine in Airship Escort, and they have in the mini tests that we've had of Airship Escort, but apparently some players are very much upset that it's coming to randoms. Again, if it's something that's going to encourage more of a close-range gameplay, I'm all for it. Rather than, again, sitting in the back, sniping for, 2/3 of the match, then you get a little bit of close-quarters combat at the end. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm just very curious to see what the general consensus is on this. But yeah, it's coming to random battles in this update. If you don't know what Airship Escort is, it's basically a push the cart game mode where each side has an airship that they have to escort to the finish point, and the airship's on a fixed track, and if you're closer to the airship, your airship's going to go faster. If you're in the enemy team's airship's escort zone, their airship will go slower, so that's one way you can slow it down. And they follow a set path that cannot be changed. You cannot damage the airship at all, so it's going one way or another. And like I said, it is very much a mid to close range game mode, which I'm very much happy to come to this game. But again, apparently some players don't like that at all. I'm excited for it. It's a new game. It's the first genuine new game mode in a very long time. I know we got Arms Race, but that That's a mode I think doesn't really belong in randoms because it's way more arcadey than any of the other modes. You know, even this. You know, this is just, you know, here, escort this objective to the endpoint. But arms race, you got the buffs that improves the ship's performances, which I really would think that would be an alternative mode, like like a super arcadey playlist or something like that. But new game mode is new game mode, new content for free. So that's my 2 cents on that. And again, I do like mid to close range gameplay, so I'm excited for it to come to the game. All right. So Dockyard, the Dockyard is continuing in update 12.8, so you still have 12.8 to work your way through the Lucian Dockyard, and then you have the first 3 weeks of 12.9 to complete the Lucian. So Lucian, by the way, good boat if you want a gunboat DD, pretty good boat. You can check out my review for it, but I do think it is worth it. I mean, it's a tier 10 DD that you get for, you know, a fraction of the cost of an actual tier 10. But yep, still going for this update. Spanish cruisers are being released in full with this update, so we can get those completely for free now, which I'm very excited about, and hopefully I'll be able to get my review for the new tier 10, the Castilla, up within a few days of the update being released. And of course we are getting a new battle pass, but you do get some pretty good stuff in this battle pass. Mainly in the premium battle pass, you get the Du Play, which is the premium tier 6 French cruiser. And I mean, that's a tier 6 at the end of the premium battle pass. You know, if you're going to make players pay for premium battle passes, might as well give them a premium ship. And they are. So I'm actually going to pick up this battle pass because I do want to pick up the Du Play and see what she is like. Alright, they do say that they are going to be testing different variations of the battle pass progress, so the rewards are going to stay the same, but the ways to progress the through the battle pass is going to be different in this update. What does that mean? They don't say. They just mentioned that it will be part of a dedicated article on the battle pass later on. Alright, so a good quality of life change that they are bringing with this update is that with this update, you will now be able to set your signals to auto-buy. So if you're like me and you like running as many signals as you can afford to, you can set those to auto-buy when you do run out. So good quality of life change. Of course, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to use it. So there you go. And getting to that juicy bit of information that I mentioned at the start of the video, or if you just skipped here from the start of the video, welcome. Hi, how you doing? So, this right here, the secondary gun changes. Let me read through it first. Now, when firing from secondary guns, the detectability range of the ship can increase if the firing range of the secondary guns exceeds the visibility of the ship. This change will not affect the detectability of ships firing secondary guns from a smoke screen. So, before you get too confused about what was said there, this is the changes to the secondary guns that we saw announced on the Russian dev blog. If you don't know, Wargaming left Russia and Belarus after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and they separated from Lesta Studios, the original developers of World of Warships. They said that Lesta is now on its own, and it's in no way affiliated with Wargaming anymore. However, this was released on the Russian dev blog some time ago. I even did a video covering it. And we never got any dev blog saying that these changes were coming to our version of the game. Yet here we are in update 12.8 with these changes. Now, how it's been with Lesta in Wargaming is that a lot of the same updates and ships and balance changes have been going on both servers. Because, I mean, you can't just rip two companies apart that have been developing the same game for, well, 8 years at this point, and, you know, you can't just do that. It's not viably doable, you know? So there was this kind of divorce period between the two games when we got pretty much the the same events, the same ships, and so forth and so on. But in the past few months, we've been seeing that there's been changes and events that have been going on in the Russian version of the game that we haven't been getting, and vice versa. So it's like, okay, we're seeing a period of, you know, they're drifting further and further apart, and then this happens. So that's pretty interesting. Now, of course, they're still going to communicate about the game and such. I believe it is a business separation. Like, you know, there's no money going from Wargaming to Lesta anymore, but they're still collaborating on the game. And like I said in a video I did talking about this, I do expect the two to merge back together once the Russian-Ukraine war is over, whenever that might be. So it's interesting because now I'm thinking, oh, wait a second. All those huge buffs to those ships that really needed it, that we saw like with the California and some of the more neglected ships that needed some help, like Kremlin's AA being, you know, cranked back up to normal HP values, are those actually going to be coming to our version of the game? Which, again, like I said in that video, most of those changes I would gladly have in our version of the game. That also brings to the question of, wait a second, the I-54, the hybrid Japanese submarine, is Wargaming testing that idea out too and just not telling us about it? It is interesting to think about such things. And on that note, we will be ending this video here. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We're on the way to 75,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday and wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.